So two questions. Number one, just are there some general frames to keep in mind? And then, of course, when you think about biases, like what, just high level, what some of the things that they can do to become more self-aware?
Yeah. It's an interesting challenge, and I think the younger folks in the workforce have an advantage. But because they're entering a world that is so rapidly changing, right? Nothing can be taken. We're literally in a time, you and I, where nothing can be taken for granted, and I think that'll hopefully um, broaden everybody's thinking. Rather than thinking they have the answer straight away, all of us have to stop now and say, "Wait, what could happen tomorrow that I haven't factored in today?" Um, so I think they have an advantage there. They aren't trained to sort of go with their gut or to have simple models in their head that can quickly get to a solution. So I'm hopeful that they're just a little bit more creative than we were trained to be. Because I shouldn't speak for you, but for me, it was kind of to see patterns, right? I'm a pattern finder, and so that brings me very much to my preferred solutions. Um, so I think that'll give them an advantage, and I think that you do need to follow processes because we're all susceptible, right? And it doesn't really matter. I would said no consultant ever, right? And I'm obviously a recovering consultant. It doesn't really matter what frameworks
Yeah.
you follow, right? As long as you follow one. I'm a big fan of the work by Thomas Battlesberg, who wrote a book called What's Your Problem? And he has a very structured process so that you can go through and frame your problem and reframe your problem. So I'm a big fan of that work, but I think it literally is as simple as a structured problem statement,
Yeah.
right? That does not suggest a solution. And then decomposing using a logic model and then the 5 whys, right? Just super straightforward. And then the analysis has to fit the type of problem. So I wouldn't be too prescriptive with what kinds of frameworks.
Yeah.
Um, because you can Google frameworks
Yeah.
to and I want to be clear that we needn't overcomplicate things because I suspect most of your listeners aren't making decisions whether or not to refurbish a factory or to sell it,
Yeah.
right? Like that's a multi-million-dollar decision, which is a different kind of decision. But when you're just trying to solve a problem, just pause. What is the problem? So neighbors are rallying to close a nightclub earlier. Why are they rallying to close a nightclub? Well, because it's too noisy at closing time. Ok okay. Is closing the only option? Right? Or can we have Ubers lined up out front so that they can leave quickly? Right? Or can we have a staging area a little further from the homes so that the noise isn't in the neighborhood? But we get the answer. We get the answer in our minds too quickly. And I think it's the perfect kind of approach for individual contributors because their problems the decisions that they have to make, the problems they have to solve are a little more bounded. So with a little creativity, they can kind of get there.
Yeah.
Now, how they can influence up
Mhm.
is another interesting challenge, right? I mean, we get to model behavior for our seniors as well, right? So if they get in the habit of making these things explicit, you'll see managers say, "Oh, I wouldn't have thought of it that way." That is the best compliment any mid-level person can get is, "Oh, I never thought of it that way." Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you write out a problem statement, if you decompose it, if you show your analysis, again, not taking 27 weeks to do so,
Yeah.
they'll be able to come with you
Yeah.
and you'll change their frame without having to go to them and say, "Dear supervisor, you were short-sighted, closed-minded." You needn't do that. Right, right, exactly. And you can bring them in too, right? If they're open-minded, right? But you just wanna avoid the people who are just get it done. Just do it. And I'm a just do it person, right? So this is a discipline that I kinda have to force on myself. But I'm lucky in my life because my husband, who I love, is completely a different thinker than I am. right? He's an engineer by trade. So he just sees things in a different structure. And I think that's a model for work, right? Is find the person. There's a reason that we have all of these personality and style tests, right? There's a reason that we have DISC and Hogan and LVI. There's a reason, and it's because people think differently. And some people need data. Some people need to talk. Some people need to read. Bring those different brains, those great different brains all together in one room.
Yeah.
Again, not for 8 weeks.